Tarzan back into the meta. I thought Tarzan looked so exceptional on this pick. He was giving interviews just saying how obscenely strong he thinks it is. They're going to go towards it once again. And, you know, it feels like this is a good time to give a reminder before we get too far into pick ban that in this round of playoffs, LNG get to pick sides for whatever 3 games they want. You assume they picked game 1, 2, and 3. That is the typical of what you do pick. We saw OMG do that yesterday. So LNG just going to be able to keep hammering out blue side and potentially look for that 3-0.
I really love seeing Tarzan on the Poppy. It is terrifying because it's just a perfect tool for him to get that early advantage we need for LNG. The Trundle coming back out for BLG here. I think there were some positives for WeiWei on that pick, but I think it wasn't as proactive as maybe you'd want to see it be. And I wonder how they tool the rest of this composition, because they did not have a teamfight comp to go into a teamfight comp that LNG grabbed last time. But Taliyah makes it through the ban as Kennen replaced her, and BLG picked that right up for Icon.
So this will at least give them more damage if we do go late. Obviously, a ton of zone control also able to come out from Taliyah, but ever since those changes came through, just able to function as that late game carry for her side. For LNG, the Aphelio's still open. The Lucian Nami is there. I'm kind of interested to see what they want to go for. And they opt into the aggressive route. When Lucian Nami started falling out of favor for a lot of LPL teams, LNG were actually one of the teams that would stick to their guns, keep going towards this duo, and show that they are still able to make it work. They are still able to find those kills in the 2v2. And I love this. This is something Doggo has been playing quite a lot of. We had it played once by LGD in their very last series. They found a win on it versus RNG. Could be rough in the early laning phases, but this is a melee skirmisher. Wants to get up in your face. You can lock people down with your ultimate. If you can chain that with other AoE damage or other ways to be able to pick off numerous targets. We saw LGD do it with Pyke. It would be fantastic. Also, typically does pair well with the Enchanters because of her passive where it does buff up heals and shields given. So, yeah, we're going to see what Doggo's able to do with this one. It definitely fits his aggressive all-in play style.
It absolutely does, and kind of throwing a wrench in the works in terms of LNG's plans. And I love this. I want to see what Chris is going to pair alongside it. But we're already looking at the second phase of bans. You know, LNG know they need to take some of those tools away from that bottom lane duo. They get the Yuumi out of there. On the side of BLG, they get the Akali ban again against Doinb from last game, and the Sejuani this time.
Yeah, so I want to see where BLG, if they go that same route that we typically see of the Nilahs, of like we said, things like the Yuumi, Lulu's another big one that you see paired a lot with her in solo queue and the Pyke. Like we said, that's what LGD were able to do with her. If they did go for an Enchanter route, though, it would be a little rough in terms of the lack of engage coming through from their side. But surprisingly, instead of going and just picking support matchup now when they already know the enemy bot, they feel like going straight towards Bin's Jax is what's needed. So far, BLG having that side lane pressure.
Let's go! Let's go! I've been grinning. I've been waiting. I'm holding my teeth together here, Lyric, as I'm watching them lock this in. We had a very one-sided, I feel like, top side last time with a lot of focus from WeiWei for Bin, right? They punished Allah, but Allah came out better for it in the end. This time, it's going to be a lot of that side lane fighting. It's the Fiora versus Jax, the volatility. I'm here for it. And Doinb whipping out the Corki here to round out the composition.
So for LNG, they're at least saying where they're going to play around, right? It's going to be all around the spot side, scaling at top, scaling in mid, and going to be a lot coming into the side of BLG. So far, hovering the Renata and Chris Renata, it's something we were talking up in last pick ban about just how quickly he gravitated towards it in the LPL and what it would be able to do. But no! Last second swapping to the Amumu. So it seems like kind of slamming their foot on the gas pedal. They know the Corki and the Fiora on the opposite side. It's going to be rough when it goes late. Sure, you have the Jax pick available, but I feel like Fiora, if she finds that lead, is going to be able to do so well. We know Doinb going to be able to output so much damage on the opposing side as well. So Crisp, I think, going to be crucial in terms of finding that huge ulti, set up for Icon and a seismic shove, getting Doggo right in the middle of the fray, getting off all his damage with the ulti as well. LNG, early game, playing through that bot lane, but mid, strong front to back, and then playing out that 1-4 with the Fiora up in the side lane.
Oh, man, we got such different focuses from that first game. Now we're seeing the adaptation come through, hoping for a little bit of that proactivity coming out from BLG this time around. But it is a damage center focus for LNG. It is Doinb and Light with the burst damage to make it happen, and a little bit more of that safety, a little bit more of that setup for BLG.
For BLG, I mean, they're going to need a strong bounce back coming through. We'd like to see Bin do well early, but I think especially just mid-jungle hovering down towards that bottom half of the map, trying to find Doggo and crisp an early lead. Hopefully not going awry like we saw in game 1 with that early turret dive.
I'm hoping we get a level 1 here again, and maybe we just make it a tradition between these two teams. It is LNG versus BLG, game 2 of our round 1 playoffs here in the summer split. BLG, again, trying to bounce back from a very devastating game 1 loss with some spicy picks from LNG, some spicy gameplay, but now they have found themselves a little bit more of a centered composition, and as we get to it, it is Summoner's Rift time, it is the LPL playoffs, and again, it's LNG versus BLG.
This time around, both teams going to be looking for strong starts down in that bottom lane, but BLG actually wanting to try and find this level 1 advantage for Bin up in topside. Ala is still hovering, which is making WeiWei want to stick around. But still, despite this, I mean, volatile matchup in the topside right could go either way depending on if that parry can come through for the counter-strike, which is very hard to do, which is why we usually do see Jax able to come out ahead in the early matchup. And then bot lane as well. I mean, Lucian, Nami, this lane that does trade so aggressively, especially once it hits that level 3 mark. The one-item power spike up against an Amumu. Constantly going to be looking for those bandage tosses. Doggo wanting to use that E dash in, get as much damage off as possible. Mazel, I feel like we could be set up for a lot of fighting on both sides of the map.
Yeah, especially early on. I feel like when LNG get to that level 3 mark on bottom lane, obviously that's when Light and Lumal will be looking to push as much of their advantage as possible, but it's about keeping the pressure up, I feel like, a lot of times against the Nilah, and we'll see if they can actually do that one and where these junglers path to, right? We do have opposite side starts for both junglers, and I think that pathing is going to be so important, as we said, for both these teams, but again, a lot of it relies around this mid lane. I want to talk about this matchup a little bit more. Obviously, WeiWei wants to talk about it too, as he's trying to visit Doinb early on. But I feel like a much more scaling pick for Doinb this time around. And maybe that could come back to bite him if he doesn't have that level 6 proactivity maybe. Doinb gets over the wall with the early Valkyrie though.
I mean, nice of him, be able to hit level 2 right after the pillar comes out, so he knows he doesn't have to be too afraid. He can just use that Valkyrie to escape. But the fact that WeiWei does pop his head in early, now LNG know exactly where he is towards that bottom half of the map.
Yeah, and they'll hopefully play towards that at least. It does look like Tarzan's pinging towards that side of the jungle as well. Go for that aggression on the Poppy. Don't know if that's necessarily going to work out for him as WeiWei up in buffs. I think he's just going to see that WeiWei went that way, and he's going to go back towards his top side of the map. Counter-Strike on top lane. It is just that volatility we're seeing in the early levels.
Well, so far, been able to get control of the lane, right? This is kind of what we expected to be able to come through. And Tarzan wanted to use the prio and bot to look for the invade, but instead going to try and get a flash on Icon.
Oh, the flash on Icon! Oh, man. Doinb and Tarzan, they are making it hurt against Icon.
And this is why we said the early game all revolves around Tarzan for LNG. We nicknamed them the Friends of the Forest, and that he really is willing to play to all 3 of his lanes. Hovers bot, thinks about the potential invade, now mid, and now once again looking to make his way to top.
And
Bin's very far forward.
Bin literally had a ward in the river. I'm losing my words at this point. That Counter-Strike is huge though. Tarzan doesn't have much to follow it up because that wave was huge for Ala. So not going to be too much at least, but it's a little bit of that scariness I feel like coming up for BLG already. They don't want to lose a game like they lost in game 1.
To be fair to Bin in that situation, I think he knew it was fine. He already hit on it. The wave being there, Ala already being so low, he would be able to escape in the end. And we're going to get a replay. I assume it's going to be of the pick.
Oh, and it's directed cam.
I was going to say, we just need the nice cinematic because we all saw what happened. Goes for the E into the flash right onto the wall. Gatling gun already popped. Q comes through. Icon doesn't even get a chance to try to escape from the play.
Oh, man. That is so huge for LNG in terms of a momentum from the mid lane, from the jungle. We saw it come out so huge for them last time around. Now WeiWei wants to get his own revenge, at least on the map, and right back to the focus on Ala. Ben takes a bit of an early trade on, so it won't end up in WeiWei getting off a gank.
So LNG stabilized in top. Their bot lane also getting pretty far ahead because they were actually holding that wave close to their turret, slow pushing, stacking it up, going to build a big wave for Doggo to go up against. And for Doggo, I mean, as Nilah, you do have 2 dashes, right? Your E does hold up to 2 charges, so you have a lot of mobility, a lot of escape potential. But not having a flash can feel pretty rough, running the Ghost for team fights, but also taking the cleanse to be able to escape from things like the bubble coming through. So if LNG can keep compounding on this advantage, they're already starting to stack up in bot lane, it's going to be quite rough because Nilah, I feel like, is very Amumu-esque in terms of she's...
Wow.
Oh, engage!
Chris, really? Oh, but that was such a good bubble back. Doggo just trying to take the aggression, but needs to be very, very careful as he almost goes down his own right. That was a clutch cleanse, but it's both summoners from Doggo that are down now.
And it's one of those things where, sure, Nilah has those 2 dashes, but once you go in, it is pretty rough to be able to get out, so you're looking for those all-in windows to be able to find those advantages. And the fact that they didn't find it, like you said, all Doggo's sums already blown. LNG's bot lane, of course, having the range advantage, they're just going to be able to completely abuse this.
The Friends of the Forest are calling to the bot lane. They try to get Tarzan down there with the Hex Flash. Maybe he can make something happen. We're looking back at the top side here between the trading of Bin and Allah that has been just consistent so far. Bin actually taking the worst in of the trade at this point in the matchup, but now actually focusing back down towards the bottom lane, the pressure might be answered to by WeiWei, who is hovering down that way. Oh, no.
In my mind, that's what you want as well, is Bin. Okay, just a bit of trading coming through. Are we going to get the full-on scrap? Mazel is done. So, looking at bot lane, right, actually going into the point, when you draft engage melee supports up against enchanters, and especially having this 225 range AD carry, I think it is a lot of jungle lane, but Light!
Oh my god! Light makes the difference!
LNG's bot lane coming out ahead. I mean, BLG set it up themselves, looking for that earlier all-in, getting chunked so low. But I love Light with the killer instinct. They wait around, they hide in the brush, and they wait for him to go for the CS and take advantage of the opportunity. This is one of the reasons why I feel like we haven't really seen Nilah, is because of the early struggles that you can have. And LNG, definitely a duo that are going to punish this.
Talk about punish, man. That is not how you want to see it go. Tarzan getting the early kill. Now Light having so much advantage into this burst-heavy bottom lane that they can use with such aggression. Tarzan steals the Scuttle Crab away. Nothing going the way of BLG at this point.
Mazel, they're living in BLG's heads after 1 game. It's only been 1 game.
Oh, man. The Nocturne just breaks the brain sometimes. It's turning out so heavily early game focus for LNG, and that's what we said was a lot of the strength for BLG, right? We were talking about their flexibility, their change of focus to get to the bottom lane in the late parts of the season, but we're just not seeing them be proactive, and it's working out in LNG's favor.
I mean, to be fair, right, we did see them attempt to be proactive in game 1 from both mid and bot, and it just backfired in their face. I mean, you were right. It was a powder keg that blew up in their own faces, to where this time around it seems like being a bit more hesitant. But at the same time, I feel like you're just opening so many opportunities up for LNG. Rift Herald now on the board now. We've seen LNG able to keep up Prio with their bot lane if they wanted to look to try to find the full rotation on that. But BLG as well, already having WeiWei up towards that top side. Could potentially try and get a gank onto Allah and be the first pair onto the Rift. But at the same time, I feel like LNG should have a decent idea of what BLG are looking for.
So I want to go back to our main focus of this series, right? The mid lane, which has been so crucial, at least so far in the series. With this one, obviously Tarzan getting the early lane focus there. But how does Icon really influence his game from here, right? I think you have a lot of options, but where would you like to see him go?
Mazel, we will get back to that because LNG are full rotating their lane up. I guess if you want to know what I want to see Icon do right now, is not have to get caught out by Light and Lumao. I mean, the Prio coming out for bot lane doing so much as Tarzan.
With the big brain play! Ben had no idea. He's going over. Allah follows him, and it's devastation. WeiWei's in the pit here. He does have the tectonics and a lot of damage from Icon over the wall. So you wanted to see a little bit from Icon. Here we go. Rift Herald does get set up, though. Reset. Rift Heralds have a little bit of fun in the pit. But LNG now trying to force a fight here, try to get WeiWei. The flash comes out early, though, and that's nicely done. Chris gets an engage. Not going to find too much as the Keeper's Verdict now comes out. And the poke damage, the Curse of the Sad Mummy, is going to come out, but it's not enough. The Apotheosis is enough to get 1 back, but it's not enough to take down Light, who is the main source of damage. And Doinb comes through with a clutch kill as well. It's reminiscent of game number 1.
LNG just doing so much better in these skirmishes. Doinb gonna be happy getting himself a blue buff after that. Luma with the red buff as well to just keep hammering home on these trades in the 2v2. We'll see exactly how it happened because you highlighted it. Tarzan taking matters into his own hands, swinging from the vines, gets been knocked into the wall to guarantee the stun, and then Allah following up with the flash. Actually preemptively does it. Beautiful play coming out from Allah. Now left a little bit in no man's land trying to follow up the trade. Does give Icon a great seismic shove, but then you're left in this position where it's like, okay, BLG wanting to find this engage, come out from Crisp, then you layer on the damage from Icon. They try to do it, but once WeiWei has to flash out, and we're going to see here, Tarzan already using his ulti, knocks one away. Crisp has to flash because he's pretty much in there alone, and they're very easily able to finish off the rest of these kills. But Mazel, there's a dragon happening in the bottom left-hand of our screen.
There absolutely is. We get to see the rest of this play, but it looks like BLG at least will be able to get their first objective of the game. Again, we saw that last time in game number 1, and them binding the early dragons, but it was LNG binding the Rift Herald, and they do so again.
So BLG at least able to take advantage of LNG using their play and using their window to be able to pick up that Herald after the fight had already gone through. And with Allah doing so well in this matchup to start out with, Tarzan looks like he wants to capitalize. And look, Doinb's making his way as well.
I'm just wondering why BLG didn't whip out the machetes. Like, you see all the vines around around the Rift here, and you know, it's just giving Tarzan so many options. He does get a nice trade back. A Weaver's Wall comes through. Tarzan falls, so the Vine didn't help him that much that time.
Oh!
There's the Tectonic, and now it's Doinb going down too. Icon is cleaning up house here. He wants to take down Allah as well. He does have a lot of rocks to throw, but WeiWei here to help him out as well. Does use the subjugation there. Allah goes down to Icon, and all of a sudden he's alive again.
LNG starting to throw away some of the lead that they've been able to find. Just not reading BLG matching the roam. I feel like Tarzan going for the solo trades onto Bin was a little bit too much. Opens up for that damage to be able to come through, and then from there it was just tragedy. BLG going to capitalize, taking plates insides. You can see on the minimap, LNG still hammering away on this mid lane turret.
I mean, they know exactly where to go with the gold. They know they need to get light a little bit more here. Crisp needs to get himself out of here as he's asking for help potentially from Doggo, but Tarzan is just slowly making the health bar go down here. Doggo does have that separation now as actually Curse the Sad Mummy comes out from Crisp, but that's a big ulti down and more pressure on bottom lane for LNG.
And for LNG now, I want to see them take this Scuttle Crab. They can force their way into BLG's jungle and get some vision down, at least clear away some of these wards, right? Because now Crisp has to back, use that window that you just created for yourselves. And now we'll see Tarzan wanting to go in so aggressively and start this trading off, but Allah hammering away on turret. They're kind of waiting for Doinb to meet the spells. They're not reading this follow-up coming out from Icon so quickly. Yeah. Beautiful seismic shove. And the whole time Doinb tanking this turret allows for these 2 kills to go through. And then Allah left all by his lonesome. Once WeiWei's here, just know it's over.
I will say, unfortunately for Doinb, he did Valkyrie across the ground. Which does a lot of damage to you when you're walking through that, or at least using a movement ability through. So a bit unfortunate the timing there. Also got hit by the Tectonic, also got hit by the tower. So just, again, not reading the room, at least in that moment for LNG. They still find themselves in a big lead here, and in terms of map pressure, feels really good. But you got to see a little bit of cleaning up here unless you want that powder keg to blow up in your face, LNG.
So interestingly, we have Doggo going for the Gale Force Nilah build. When LGD played it, we of course saw the Eclipse come out, bit of an earlier spike, pretty nice with what it's able to do. Sometimes you see the Immortal Shield Bow to index more into that late game and sustain as well. Gale Force, it's just be able to close as much distance, get on top of that back line, and try to follow through and burst out. Maybe could be playing 2 parts here, considering, you know, a lot of times Nilah does take flash in solo queue, so also does just give him an extra dash, even if he did have to escape or get away from the fight. But I feel like for Doggo, for Crisp, that isn't really the goal.
Now, I want to ask you a little bit more about the setup for BLG here, because it feels like we've stabilized to some extent, right? Ben is starting to feel pretty strong in the side lane. WeiWei obviously knows that, and they're going to try to punish Allah even more than they have already in this series. Tarzan does get Icon Splash, but for BLG, how do you see them setting up in terms of like trying to contest these objectives, trying to find a win condition here, being behind?
Blue team's turret has been destroyed.
It doesn't start with
on
this.
That one is Crisp.
Oh man, Crisp gets locked down. CC misses the bandage toss. Will die to Lumal as well as Icon's now under turret with a wave crashing. And Tarzan tries to find the wall, but it doesn't matter because Light just cleans up the kill with his burst damage.
And now for LNG, just going to be able to take the spot lane turret as well. Dragon coming up in 50 seconds. They did get the vision in BLG's bot side jungle after they chunked out Crisp solo last time. So even having information on where WeiWei is right now, should be able to maintain this control, get back on the Rift, and start looking to make sure that BLG doesn't get themselves a second Dragon for free.
It was tower taken, though, and a lot of gold given over to Light now. 3-0-3 will be close to completing that second item for sure, but we already see Doggo with that move into mid lane, facing up against Doinb. We have WeiWei trying to clear out some vision around this dragon. We saw BLG take 2 dragons early last game. See if they want to do so again, as they've already moved Ben down as well.
I'm actually really interested, going back to your last question about BLG and how they want to like fight this out, and like seeing what they do, right? Because, I mean, you have champions like Nilah, like Amumu that want to jump in. Icon kind of just wants to play from a range, throw out his Qs, see for an opportunity if Chris stuns anyone to hit a seismic shove, and then you're kind of having Bane come in on flanks if he is getting out pressured in side lanes by Allah. But that could be a little bit awkward running into a Corki, running into a Lucian, if you can't just outright lock both of their carries down, so then Doggo can go in and get that damage in, because if not, I mean, Nilah could be jumping into a Lucian and, okay, maybe only Doinb got locked down. Well, now Nilah's going to get burst out by the Lucian, right?
Yeah.
It's going to be, definitely going to be very well coordinated coming out from BLG for their team fights to work.
Tarzan is just such a menace on this Poppy. He just knows how to, you know, be a thorn in the side a lot of the time, it feels like. Doinb has the package available here. Have a lot of pressure on the bottom lane against him with Icon and WeiWei, but LNG picking up their own pressure in the top side of the map.
Oh, and Bin's still just hovering around, but, you know, it's been so nice not having Corki for the fact that, you know, people might not know this, but we don't have game sound. So the package, I'll, don't have, you know, when package comes through Mazel, we might not always hear that sound cue, and by might not always, I mean, we'll literally never hear the sound cue.
We do not.
And we'll have to wait to be able to see it.
I see the big thing at the bottom of Corki's body, and I'm like, okay, he has package. That's all. That's what I get.
I'm just surprised they picked it up so early, and like they're finally starting Rift Herald now, but
it's already down.
I was gonna say not really well timed with any objective or what they're looking to play around. So a bit of a missed window for LNG in terms of being able to abuse that spike.
And I'm wondering if they just try to force this objective. This is where we've seen them sometimes falter. But with this lead, you would expect that, you know, they're feeling confident in this own right. We get the Weaver's Wall actually across to reset the Rift Herald here. So BLG stopped the LNG proactive play. But now LNG try to move through the mid lane with some more pressure. The culling coming out from Light just to push BLG out.
I feel like LNG being forced off this is just, again, the timer of when they pick up that package, they're not utilizing it to hard force the Herald. They're not having to be scared from the play coming through, because now BLG can just keep looking to poke their heads in, try and throw out some Qs. And if Doinb or Light overstep, that's the second bandage toss comes out from Chris. He lands the ulti, the seismic shove can follow through, Nilah can go in with the ulti, and that can be the big burst that BLG needs.
BLG are a little bit hesitant to go in here. The tidal wave is already utilized. Curse the sad mummy onto 3 members. Do they have the front to back though as well? Allah almost goes down. The Rift Herald is down, but BLG trying to move in, and they too find some success. They don't lose a single member.
BLG find one, but LNG, I believe, were the team who were able to secure the Herald. So ultimately, I feel like LNG feeling fine with the trade that went through. And heck, that was even with Chris finding an absolutely beautiful ulti and one pick going down right away. BLG not able to push that advantage any further than that.
And it was Tarzan picking that one up in the end. So nice little decision-making, at least in the moment, right? Focus that objective, even things aren't going well. Luba with a huge tidal wave.
But still, then we see Chris able to manage the bandage toss, flashes forward, able to lock pretty much the whole LNG team down.
Yeah. I thought Allah was
going
out
down
of it
straight away, right after WeiWei flashes forward. But the problem is, once again, after that one engage comes through from the Amumu, very hard to chase down LNG. LNG actually have a lot of mobility, right? Light having a dash, Doinb having the Valkyrie available, Tarzan being able to deny people coming into him. So not really having anything left in the tank to be able to continue chasing down those kills. And coming out from that play, you know, we see items across the board. Interestingly, Doinb not going towards an early mythic. I don't know if people remember, but one of the reasons we started to see Corki a lot less was he got a nerf. I believe it was 2 or 3 patches ago, where the AP ratios on his rockets got taken way down. So it's interesting to see if Doinb would go maybe full AD or if he'd still go to an AP Mythic. So far, not even looking at one, and still hammering home to be able to make sure his rockets are doing a ton of damage with that mirror mana and just poke from afar.
Yeah, it's really nice to see some adaptation to the build, at least. He was going to go in all actuality. But while we have a little bit of moment, right, I do want to hop into the top lane, at least volatility in the side lane. Do you feel like Allah is going to have the upper hand in the late game, or do you feel like Ben is going to be the key factor?
We did have this matchup on the last day of LPL. I think it was the RNG LGD series. And once we got to a point that Allah can just kind of go in for these short bursty trades, proc vitals. Maybe I need to slow down because the light's caught out.
He gets completely caught on the side, has to flash over the tidal wave just as an emergency trigger here from Lumao. But that's the pressure in the mid lane, kind of give it up, and the position from LNG giving up. It doesn't look like, though, they could get much siege down because Doinb with those rockets, man.
And we could see, right, LNG not feeling too bothered. They're having the Fiora push down in the bot lane. One distinction in how these two teams will fight, and even with the top laner specifically, is Jax provides a lot more in a team fight, right? Counter-Strike, you can lock numerous members down. Your ulti giving you the resistances. For Fiora, really only a single target. Like, you can go assassinate one member maybe, but that's about the extent of your team fight prowess. So we'll see what they're able to do. Is Icon wall.
Oh my god, and Chris just gets caught on the side. He goes for that engage. He does have a nice little separation for LNG. Allah's on the side here, tries to get out with the riposte, uses it too early. Hebrews Verdict does separate way away from the fight, and LNG actually make the numbers difference in their favor, even if they were very close to getting capitalized on.
So LNG dissuading and disengaging from BLG's aggression. I'm really surprised that Icon threw out the wall so early, considering that, Drake's not even started up yet. Allah hadn't even started walking forward.
Wow.
But here we go. Herald dropped. LNG want to find this, but look at Doggo on the flank.
Oh, he's setting up on the side. Could this be the big Doggo? Oh my god, Doggo's dead. He just gets caught immediately. It's tragedy, but Ben is on to Doinb. Doinb goes down. BLG, they're flashing all over the place. Tarzan still has so much health, and LNG have routed BLG out of the pit, and it was all off the back of the pickoff on the Doggo. We said that was the biggest issue for BLG, is mid to late game catch-outs, and it happens once again.
I gotta say to you, Mazel, AD carry's probably not too used to having to play flanks. Goes in completely by himself, not coordinated with the rest of his team at all. And of course, you're just gonna get blown up, Doggo. Of course you are.
We've seen that
and LNG now able to take this dragon.
We've seen Doggo do that before on Zeri, right? We've seen multiple times where Doggo is confident, but then he just gets shut down.
So people are wondering, again, Nilah, short-range AD carry, kind of functioning similarly to a Samira. You want to get in the thick of things, use your ultimate, lock a lot of people down, tries to go for it, gets instantly bursted out. Sure, they find Doinb once Ben gets in there on the flank, but the amount of damage that was able to come through, even from Doinb before he died, but especially from Light, is what allows him to find this. And Chris, being a bro, giving it over to his former teammate. They won Worlds together. They were the bestest friends anyone could ever be, and he's doing him a solid.
Yeah, there you go. That's definitely what it is. Absolutely. It's not, Icon seething at the mouth right now, wanting to get some revenge on his replacement. It's not, looking over at Tarzan, Icon's former teammate, and saying, man, why don't you give me some help here? What's up with this one-sidedness? And it's actually been incredible to see LNG navigate these fights, right? In the first 2 games. First game, a lot more heavy-handed for them, but it's been really interesting to see them bend through some of the advantages BLG have in their composition.
We've seen, we're seeing a TP coming out from Doinb. Package.
He's got the package available, nicely timed there. But in speaking of timing, I think Dan probably might send me a message for that one, because we don't have anything but the Baron on the table.
I was going to say, are they going to go for Baron? What are we looking for, LNG? I guess picking it up there, thinking that they could have Doinb coming with a TP and maybe block off an escape path and look for the fight, but I feel like they're going to have to do something to try to force BLG into them and use this timer.
There's no way. They're just going to bait the Baron at this point, try to force BLG into the fight, right? And I think BLG realized
the right call.
They are not. There's no way that they fall for this, right? They're not just going to walk into a package. But if Baron gets started up, they might just have to.
For LNG, I think you have to start it. I mean, you pick up the package, you want to find the fight. You're trying to find a way to min-max what you have over the enemy team already used. And
oh my god, Icon was dead. Oh, WeiWei, he's dead. Oh no. In the end, LNG just force it. They just force the issue. Chris goes in on the back. Doggo's there, but he's already down again. It is devastation. I don't even know the words to say because BLG, they try so hard, but they never find it.
And I'm still just kind of speechless at LNG. I don't even feel like they played that entirely correctly. Is now Bin. Looks like he, okay, does get away fine. But even for LNG, I feel like the package is a little bit too early, not really getting in yet. They're forced to back off the Baron, and BLG just giving themselves over on a silver platter. Now at the end of the day, LNG do get the Baron. Woo!
It's actually
showing your biases, Mazel.
Man.
As we see here, I mean, I feel like package used a little bit too early, forces them out of the fight.
Yeah.
And now then being left in this position, calling, just absolutely destroying both Icon and WeiWei. Flashes out, but the auto attack had already been started and was going through. Tarzan then able to close the distance, get in there, huge knock-up. And this just starts a snowball from LNG able to come through. My God, that Nami ultimate was just perfectly timed coming out from Lumao.
For me, that has been the difference maker in this, right? He has been there in the ups and downs, right? He has been there to save with the tidal wave, but he's also been there to set up. It's every single time, like 3-4 members getting hit by this tidal wave, and it's actually incredible how Lumao has been piloting this against Crisp, who has the upper hand in terms of aggression, in terms of engage. Crisp, he gets obliterated.
Yeah, Crisp just going down completely. And, I mean, heck, we need to remember that we say Doinb and Crisp used to be teammates. Doinb and Lumao played together before. They were on JDG together in 2017. So a lot of inbuilt synergy for this LNG roster. And now using their Baron is Ala.
He gets out. That was a nice little move from Ala with all the dip, dive, and dodging. And now Tarzan with the rest of LNG trying to put pressure onto this bottom side tower. Ben tries to go right back in. That's hugely dodged away from by LNG. Chris goes in with the Curse of the Sad Mummy. He has to flash over the wall. Another tidal wave separates the fight again. The backs now coming through as the Baron buff still alive for almost a minute and 20 seconds here for LNG.
So LNG just going to be able to keep pushing forward. Ala didn't even go for the reset. Just hovering around mid, trying to use his Baron. Not close enough, and luckily, BLG will deny him from being able to go through with the play, but LNG wanting to use their Baron to the fullest. So far, about a plus 3,000 gold lead from it, and they're just going to be able to keep pushing forward. They have the rockets there to just keep sieging down these turrets and making BLG's life a living hell.
Yeah, Ala, though, is aggressed on by Ben. The healing from the Grand Challenge, and now Tarzan coming through here. The Counter-Strike comes through. Tarzan doesn't get stunned down. Doggo tries to flash in to get the, or at least the dodge in, to get the damage and get the reset on
like
his,
it's a turret in the meantime.
Yeah, he tries to get the reset on the Ghost, but they don't really find anything for BLG, and it's their base absolutely in tatters here. And Light, every time he's getting these pop shots, he's doing like half to a quarter damage of these guys' health bar.
I love it. LNG playing so aggressive, not even going for bases, right? Kind of just pulling BLG around into different lanes and then rotating to the next one to start finishing off some of these inhibitors. Dragon is up. So you'd expect LNG now back off, go secure that second dragon for yourself, and we'll see if BLG want to contest. We don't have Curse of the Sad Mummy up just yet, no Weaver's Wall, so we are missing a few key abilities on the side of BLG. To where you look at LNG, I mean, they have all their critical ultimate stuff. Ala doesn't have his, but the other four are really the important ones when it comes to these fights.
Yeah, and there's nothing that BLG can do to contest this dragon. The second dragon secured for LNG themselves, but again, for me, like, seeing LNG come alive here in the playoffs has been incredible. They are trying to put the pedal to the metal themselves here. Chris Bubbles, he just pops the Curse of the Sad Mummy, and that's the difference. They are in their head. As you said earlier, Lyric, it's a double kill for Light. It might even just be a triple kill, and BLG have no hope in this game number 2.
And you can see now, LNG just going to want to barrel down the mid lane. Light, an item and a half up over Doggo, allows him to take that fight so clean. They don't really have many minions to work with. There will be a wave here soon, but you'd expect LNG should be able to close out another game right here, right now.
Literally just the dash from Light gets Icon's flash. Finn and Icon, the defense against the world here right now, but it ain't working out so far. Doinb is staying behind a little bit long, but it could just be a bait as Ala goes right back in onto Bin. It is going to be LNG finally pulling out of the base, but the damage is done, and BLG, I don't know how they get out of this hole.
You know, and this reminds me of an interview we got from Bin towards the end of the split as well. We're going to have a replay here, but You know what? We can talk about this replay, Mazel, because actually the way that Light just kind of walks out and dodges on this Curse of the Sad Mommy is really nice. Can't find the bandage toss, can't connect. It makes it so that Light can go in with this damage, flash straight into the queue, finish off with the auto attacks with the passive as well, and members of BLG just dropping like flies. But, you know, BLG look like a bit of a mess. Things are all over the place. Wendy asked Bin about, like, you know, how's the communication in team fights? How's the communication later on in the game? Like, who's the main shot caller? And Bin's reply was pretty much like, yeah, we don't really have, like, a main shot caller. And in fights, it's not about who calls what. We just try to focus on our own mechanics. And I feel like with how BLG's played all split, you can see that is now Icon's mechanics not going to be put to the test because he's just going to die.
Yeah, I mean, there's no way to get out of here. He's dead. Blue buff handed over to Allah. Now they're a member down, and LNG smell blood in the water.
And now we see, after all those kills, Light is now 2 items up over Doggo on the opposing side. This should be an easy way to finish. Ult's back up on the table. A full calling was able to pretty much kill 2 members 2 fights ago. So, you know what? I'm going to bank on it now. They can probably kill 3 or 4.
There's a TP coming in from Doinb, but the fight's already kicked off. Keeper verdict. The package is used, and that's immediately BLG cut down in their ranks. They're trying to get Bin in there, trying to get the CC down. They're surviving for a little bit longer. WeiWei goes down on the backside. Bin will get a nice counter-strike here on the Light, so decent amount of damage back, but 4 members strong for LNG, and they'll push BLG to the brink of elimination, and LNG want to make the dream run happen again this summer.
LNG trying to realize their potential. This has been a team that has performed at less than the sum of their parts all split long. With the names that they have on this roster, they should not have, you know, been struggling as much as they were. Finally getting it together kind of towards the end, you know, Ala getting subbed in back over Panda C, and now coming in with such a strong showing here today. BLG look like a mess. I gotta be honest, I haven't really cared for either draft that they put out so far. I feel like we saw a lot of the struggles, especially with Nilah. You fall behind early on. Once you get to mid-game, I mean, you're the type of champion that has to jump in the middle of the enemy team to be able to get, like, the maximum amount of damage possible, to be able to function in a team fight. And typically, champions like that have to be ahead. That's why, again, kind of comparing her with other things like Samir, you talk about wanting to give them attention, wanting to bring jungle down there, and wanting to snowball. They weren't able to find an early lead. They weren't able to make it work in mid-game, and things kind of just looking a little bit disjointed. Again, honestly, feels like out of this game, maybe Bin was really the only one that was putting up a bit of a fight and, you know, doing his best, had a bit of an impact.
Yeah.
That was it.
Yeah, it really was. And we said at the beginning of the day, questions remain for this BLG roster. Seeing them solidify the mid to late game, we saw it come back to bite them so heavily in both games, it felt like, but this one more egregiously so, right? Like, getting the catch out from Doggo was a huge momentum shift in terms of, like, LNG were already in the lead, and that just helped them continue to snowball. And I think that's where you have to look at the likes of, you know, Crisp, the veteran, right, coming through here. Icon, Bin, like, we need to see the step up holistically from BLG, and we're just not getting that. LNG are slamming the door right now in playoffs.
They really are. I mean, I like how you pointed out and highlighted Lumao, because Lumao definitely had a lot of impactful ults that game, to where Crisp, I mean, even struggling to find the impactful bandage shot. He hit the one beautiful one, right? Landed the one right around Herald, flashes in, locks pretty much everyone down. But sadly, BLG not having enough left in the tank to be able to follow up on that. So you're right. From BLG, I don't know. I don't know how you pivot now, because Doinb came in and saying, creative picks can get you a win or two. And now BLG brought out their creative pick. They weren't able to find it. LNG mostly kept it stock and standard. Like, sure, things like Corki aren't really meta right now, but it was one of Doinb's most played champions. Actually, it was Doinb's most played champion, tied with Swain and Taliyah, coming into the series. So still just leaning back on things that they've played before. And from game 1 to game 2, it goes back to that champion diversity that is there for LNG. Second most unique champions played in the league, and they're only 1 behind WeiWei. That's because of On. On's played like a million champions to split.
Get you a team that can do both. Get you a mid laner like Super Carry Doinb, who whips out Nocturne in game number 1, and then brings out the tried and true Corki in game 2 with those damage percentage, the gold to damage value as well. Actually incredible stuff from them. And it's really at this point where we just turn all eyes focusing on BLG. Like, do they find an early advantage? Does the powder keg actually explode on the enemy for once at any time in this series?
I mean, it would blow my mind. like, this was a matchup coming to the day we said this can go like a 3-0 either way or a 3-2 either way because these teams were incredibly volatile all split long. They could have won or lost against anyone because of the talent they have on their teams, but because of the mistakes that both teams had, right? We kind of highlighted LNG when they're setups, when they're not ahead. Luckily, the series they have been ahead.
True.
And for BLG, they're just so disconnected. A lot of them get picked off so easily in the mid game. So, Mazel, we're going to find out. We're going to go on this ride together after you send us to a break.
I'm very excited to see if BLG can bring themselves back into this series to make their playoff hopes still alive somehow. LNG are one win away from securing the next